Where's welcome to Damu Kiwe Conversation, Hip Hop Police Docu-Series Day 10. This is Day 10. So we're going to get right into it. We ain't going to hold y'all in. Make sure y'all hit that like button on y'all way in. And so now we got these detectives who's been searching, who's already been investigating Suge. You know what I'm saying? They already been investigating Suge since 2003, some of these people. Let me introduce you to all the players again. You know, the ones that's still participating in this new task force they got. So this is August 3rd, 2003. It was published. Trouble for Suge Knight. Knight was arrested on a parole violation for striking a valet outside. Things get worse for old Sugar Bear, though. He may be a marked man. 1997 string of gang-related murders began after Suge fired one of his bodyguards. The LA Times has reported that 4 of the 8 men killed thus far were close to Suge, and he may very well be the next target. Word on the street is there's a hit out on Suge Knight, said Detective Coet of the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. So you got Detective Coet. So I want to make sure I introduce you to him. He's the more vocal of the two, you know what I'm saying, of him and his partner, who is Detective Fournier. You know what I'm saying? Detective Fournier is the lead, him and his partner, but Fournier was a little bit more ahead of Detective Michael Coet. But you need to know who these players are, so you can put faces to what's going on. You know what I'm saying? So let me see. Here we go with Detective Fournier, and I'll show y'all pictures next. Detective Fournier, his regular pay, his night was in 2015 was $93,671.5 regular. His other pay is an additional $166,615, and his total pay is $260,286.26, $47,777 in benefits, total pay and benefits. He got a net worth of equity that's grossing in value about $308,000 a year. He's no regular pig, man. You know what I'm saying? He's no regular pig, man. So we're gonna go ahead and go to these pictures real quick. So you guys already know these guys, right? Let me hit this real quick and show y'all where it starts at the top, right? Detective Greg Caden and his partner. So let's start there. Boom. So you got Detective Caden and Darren Dupree, you know what I'm saying, the LAPD task force. Then you have this is I don't know how to pronounce it name. Maravich. When we'll get to the paperwork, I'll tell you that's the guy whose name I couldn't pronounce. And then here you have Detective Michael Coet, LA Sheriff's Department, right? And then you have Detective Fournier, right? All right, boom. And then you have the Compton Gang Unit, who was Detective Ladd and Detective Brennan. I don't think Ladd was a part of Greg Caden's joint task force. He was just partners with Brennan. I could be wrong on that fact. But they definitely were in on the investigation on the Main Street case. And that's what I wanted to introduce you guys to them. Now, each one of these officers that I just introduced you to are all deputized, right? And I need to make sure, damn, I forgot about that, right? I need to make sure that y'all understand what it is to be deputized. and then we get right into the content, man. We got the content. Hit that like button. Show a little bit of respect. Subscribe. We had over 6,000 subscribers now, man. Congratulations to the team. So, state and local law enforcement members of the task forces are deputized as special federal officers and special deputy marshals. So the FBI currently has the authority under 21 USC section 878 to bestow special federal officer status to state and local law enforcement officers assisting in FBI drug investigations. However, the Bureau must rely on the USMS to provide Title 18 special deputation to state and local officers who are participating in fugitive apprehension activities and other non-drug task force activities. Special deputy status is important to task force members because it enables them to act as federal law enforcement officers while under the supervision of FBI. Special deputy status is more extensive than special federal officer status, as it extends beyond drug investigations. Prior to deputation, the officer would be functioning as a federal officer with the proper authority. This could place the officer in a position where any civil liability incurred would be without the backing of the federal government. So we're going to go ahead and end that right there. And then we're going to get into realizing that all of these dudes is deputized federal agents. They're moving as if they're federal agents. They could go to Atlanta and interview Mark Stevens. They could go to Las Vegas and interview Kiwe D outside of their jurisdiction of the LAPD or the LA sheriffs. You know what I'm saying? So let's get into this. Sometimes you gotta let somebody put their feet in their mouth. CS2 back. We're gonna allow him to tell y'all what happened, man. You know what I'm saying? Let's go. What's this? Oh yeah, this is gonna be nasty work. All right, here we go.
Officer Greg Caton and Darren Dupree or some shit.
Darren Dupree.
When we coming outside on the stairway, me and my attorney, they stop us. They say, look, man, we can't afford this harassment lawsuit you file. You know, I'm beyond the gated community. I'm claiming I'm embarrassed. I got to move my family. My wife is traumatized. She kicked my dough in. I'm putting extras on it, right?
Right.
They said, listen.
Remember these names that you hear in Wack talk about and that you hear the paperwork talk about in these investigations that we're going to break down.
They advised my attorney. My attorney said, look, dude said, drop the case and they owe you one. If you don't drop it, right, then you know what come with that. My attorney's talking to me. He know my personal business and say, you know how you are every day. So you don't really need that in your mix. So I said, well, listen, I don't need no motherfuckers hemming me up every day. We figured out as we figured out. I'll leave it like that.
So he's alleging that he was going to sue the LAPD or threatened to sue the LAPD for illegally searching his house. This is what he believes. He wants us to believe he had leverage over these deputized FBI agents.
About 6 months go by, I look at the media, I see they got Shaq tied up. They're making accusations that Shaq paid the Main Street Crips to go kidnap this dude, Stutter box. It wasn't in LA Lobby, it was on Sunset Boulevard. Right? So they tied Shaq into it. Shaq had did videos with the Main Streets because Box was his dude. They using all this shit against him, saying he's tied into the gang culture and all this shit, blase, blase, blase. Right? I call my man Money Mark. Right? Money Mark is Shaquille's right-hand man, his business partner.
So he admits that he does call Money Mark Stevens. But listen to his rendition.
I say, yo, Mark, check it out. Call my attorney. Tell my attorney I said put you online with that federal officer. Have your attorney call that federal officer to the stand. Well, first tell him to call Box to the stand. You want him to do one thing and one thing only. Ask Box if he's a federal informant, documented. Everybody from LA is in the courtroom, he's gonna lie. Trust me, I know him, he's gonna lie. When that happens, I'm giving you a jewel because Shaq looked out for me, right? I don't need this favor, so I'm passing it to you. Have your attorney call this Greg Cadence in, have him take the stand, and then let him tell the judge and present the documents he had, the fingerprints, all the paperwork, the payments they've been paying this dude every month to show that this dude is a federal informant. At that point in time, Box has perjured himself on the stand. Whatever allegations against Shaq and anybody else tied to the case, they got to kick it out. I lay back. Money Mark calls my attorney. Mark calls my attorney. My attorney called me. I said, yeah, give him that information. That favor they owe me, let them use it. He need it. I don't need it. Because they got Shaq in the trick bag. You can go to Google. That shit is still on Google. They do all that. Sure enough, you get up there, Box under oath, denies it, all this. They call Greg Cadence in the motherfucker. Greg Cadence come in with his file, hands it to the judge. The judge open it up. I guess, I don't know, it's some type of contract you sign when you signing up for these type of things, formal programs or whatever. Judge looks at it, calls, makes sure it's authentic, throws the case out. Not only does Shaq walk, but all the Main Street Crips walk too that day out of court. That's how that happened.
All right then.
Damn, Wack, you the one that saved Shaq then.
I saved
Right, I was about to say
and
that.
all the main streets. Just real shit.
Okay, all of that is absolute bullshit, except
Well,
for the
this is
fact we
great
met
too.
him at his lawyer's office. We sat down. We said, "Here's the deal, man. You know, we've had this case against you. We came up empty-handed. You know, sorry that you got caught in the middle of this. Somebody put your name out there. We didn't know any better, so we followed. You know, we gave fucking Stutterbox the benefit of the doubt. Here we are. You know, was there an apology? Nah, I don't know. It's my style to kind of apologize. Sorry you had to fucking go through this. But nonetheless, it is what it is. The idea of suing us, fucking bullshit. Us having an agreement like we owe you one, bullshit. The idea of him having anything to do with the trial of when Stutterbox went to testify and the thing fell apart. Cash had absolutely nothing to do with any of that. So he's just taking all of these pieces of information and putting them together like he was the puppet master. It's all absolute bullshit.
Wack 100,
So Wack
whose real
lied.
name is Cat.
So Wack sat here and lied for no reason. Talk about let's not forget that he's putting himself and involving himself with this investigation in this case. We didn't know nothing about this case. We didn't know nothing about this investigation with DeJa34 or none of that. But since people want to act like they want to, oh yeah, we could close this now. Bam. So from there, let's get into this real quick. You know what I'm saying? We got something for y'all. He put himself on this case, involving himself with a case that now he claims he has nothing to do with, right? But what we do understand, okay, here we go right here. This is me and Mark Steven, the person he said he called.
Yeah, I got the audio right now. Send it
Hey,
up to
Stack.
What's going on? I'm here.
All right, we got Mark Stevens on. And
Okay.
all right. Hey Mark, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can y'all hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we can hear you. Salute Mark Stevens. That's the way to salute everybody. Salute.
Yes, sir.
Look.
So I just had a back and forth with Wack. He claiming that
DJ, what's the brother name? Rest in peace.
K Slay.
K Slay was still fucking with him while he was dead, and that they were putting Nipsey and YG and all of them on. And I told him, bro, you a fucking lie. K Slay wasn't even fucking with you at the time of his death, bro. K Slay was being managed by whole other people. Why is you trying to push false narrative? He's like, what? You don't know nothing. You don't even know. I said, listen, bro. So he said, well, look at this. He showed a PTR which showed that Stutterbox message that said they on with Mark right now. Stupid or something to that effect. He said, so you talk. I said, so you admit that I talked to Mark Stevens this morning? Yeah, I already know that. Well, listen, bro. What I do also understand is that you wasn't managing him at the time. You're lying about that. You try to steal the rights to Sexy Canna, well, not the rights, but you try to receive royalties off of Sexy Canna when they own 50% of the record, and so does Ray J. He denied that. Can you clarify that, how that went first?
Yeah, we did a joint venture, Knockout and DeJa34 Records. We did a joint venture, and I own 50% of the album. He owned 50% of the album. Ray J. Ray J was signed to DeJa.
How did you obtain Ray J to get ownership of that record?
All right, so Ray J apparently had some dealings with signed with Death Row and Suge. And long story short, Stutterbox brought me to Ray J. When I went to Ray J, I took him right to Alan Grumblack and Koch Records. They informed me they couldn't touch him because it was the politics with Suge and Death Row that had to be clarified first, and the debt had to be paid before they was willing to move forward. Wack called Suge and set up a meeting for me. I met Suge probably 3 times. The last time we met, we was in Vegas. We went to the Patton Mayweather fight, and then that night we smoked cigars. We went to the suite, and we hammered out a deal. And we did the deal where he released them from everything, and he was able to sign with Koch, DeJa34, and do the joint venture with Knockout.
Right. And at this time and period, y'all was still kosher with Wack 100 with Cash Jones. December 8, 2007.
Of
his involvement as confidential source 2 back, which is in
correct.
December 2007.
Well, correct, because I was the one who put Wack with Ray J and Koch because I wanted somebody to look over him while he was on the West Coast, and he had to deliver this album. And because Ray J, he was claiming blood, I put him with Wack, and that's how they got tight. It was a security issue at first. He was his security. And Wack even brought him to New York. He brought him to my hometown. He took him several places, but he was his security. And then after my album was done and we didn't have any more dealings, I guess that's when he started managing Ray J.
Okay, so that's the only thing with that. And at the time of DJ K Slay's demise, rest in peace to the brother, he was not fucking with Wack 100, right?
Man, rest in peace to the homie, man, K Slay. K Slay was actually writing a book. He was writing a book. And in the book he was telling all the real, and it was funny because he used to call me because he used to be like, yo, you hear all these lies being told, and I said, yeah, bro, but I wasn't on the internet game like that. You know what I'm saying? I was doing other things. I got invitations, to sit down and talk about what took place, but I never did. But Slay was real pissed at that shit in his last days because he felt like dude was just, he was portraying something and a role that he really wasn't. He didn't come in the game like that. You know, who put him in the game was me and K Slay. That's who put him in the game. And he was security for Ray J. That's how he started out. He was security.
Okay.
That's enough right there. So he was, when the DeJa34 had to deal with knockout 50-50 and then Koch the other 50, Wack 100 was a security placed there by DJ K Slay and by Mark Stevens as security for Ray J. And Ray J, I guess, kept them on because they got tight or whatever with whatever they was doing at them freak offs, you know. I guess they compatible. But we're gonna get into this this little short documentary on this to bring y'all up to speed. But that was a historical interview, man. Thanks to Mark Stevens for even giving us that. He had been asked by major platforms to tell that story. He never had told that story. And then he gave it to us, man. Salute to that brother. Let's go.
Welcome back to another episode of Warren Cali.
Shout out Warren Cali.
I'm a detail ex-NBA star, Shaquille O'Neal. 1996, Shaquille O'Neal was one of the biggest superstars in sports and in the media. With his big personality and his new 7-year, $121 million contract, bringing him to LA and becoming a Los Angeles Laker.
Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. Larry Beal here in the ESPN studios in Connecticut. We're breaking into programming right now to bring you a live news conference about to take place in Atlanta, at which Shaquille O'Neal is expected to announce that he has signed a 7-year, $120 million contract to join the LA Lakers.
You haven't figured it out yet. I've signed with the Los Angeles Lakers. And keep in mind the word change to me.
After several seasons with the Lakers, Shaq's stardom and fame would grow even more from doing movies, recording rap albums, and just having a dynamic personality. By the early 2000s, Kobe and Shaq became the best duo since Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen, bringing 3 championships to LA, and even Shaq becoming an MVP.
I'm thinking of buying a house.
A house? Are you sure? I don't know anyone that owns a house. It's a big commitment. Hey, if you can make it work.
Shaquille, you've had a dominating MVP season. Number 1 in scoring, number 2 in rebounds, number 3 in block shots, 4 assists a game almost, and only 3 people played more minutes as you were leading your team to 67 victories. It's a pleasure to watch you grow. Congratulations, 1999-2000 NBA MVP, Shaquille O'Neal.
Beyond the glitz and glamour, Shaq would be involved with some heavy gang members and ended up making some connections in the LA streets, some being with South Central gang members from the Main Street Crips. The Main Street Crips were a gang known for being involved in all aspects of bringing in money, from being big-time drug dealers, owning businesses, and being involved in the entertainment industry. Shaq would build a connection with several Main Street Crips as they offered protection for him being in LA, as he was previously robbed before. But he offered a lot more for the Main Street Crips, like access to many big-name celebrities and other ways to make a ton of money, as he was putting a lot of money and opportunities in their hands. Shaq became close with several Main Street factors like Del Dog, who was an important figure in the Main Street Crips, and also his eventual business partner and fellow Main Street Crip, Robert Stutterbox Ross. Stutterbox and Shaq would have a big falling out after he felt Shaq owed him some money, and this would turn bad. Stutterbox would have something over Shaq's head. It was said from different sources that Stutterbox had tapes of Shaq's wife at that time, shouting O'Neal doing explicit things on camera. It was also said that Stutterbox was blackmailing Shaq about him cheating on his wife. This would make Shaq desperate to stop Stutterbox by any means necessary. The situation would put a rift between the Main Street Crips and cause internal beef with Shaq having many Main Street members on payroll. They would take Shaq's side instead of Stutterbox's, basically causing him to fall out of favor with his own gang. By 2008, Del Dog, who was believed to be one of the leaders of the Main Street Crips, took it in his own hands. After several meetings with Shaq on the situation with Stutterbox, Del Dog ordered 6 other Main Street Crips to kidnap Stutterbox, where they would rob him and beat him in an attempt to try to recover the supposed tapes. Stutterbox later walked into the LAPD 77th Street Division with his face cut and bleeding out, and having blood all over his clothes.
And let's stop it
He
right
would later
here.
tell the police that armed Main Street Crips, who he had
So
grown
they
up with,
saying that he
and
walked
recognized
straight
kidnapping.
into the
He would say they ordered him to drive his car to
77
drive to South
police
Central into
station,
Dale Dog's house,
right?
where the Main Street members beat him and took
Let's
$15,000
go
in
ahead
cash from him
and stop
and
this
robbed
real
all his
quick.
jewelry. The other boss told investigators that.
So I'm gonna stop right there just because they're saying that as soon as he got beaten, they released him, told him to get the money in the videotape that he was trying to blackmail and extort Shaquille O'Neal and Mark Stevens with. That he went right into the police station. But that right there was just them withholding back information which would expose that Stutterbox already had a prior relationship with Darren Dupree and with Darren Dupree and Greg Caden. So after he happened, he called Stutterbox, called Darren Dupree, right? And I know how to get there too. Hold on. Matter of fact, let me cancel that. And we're going to go right over here and we're going to get on this. This is why I released this earlier. I know people were like, he just released this. And you don't understand the significance. I had the AI read the shit to make it a little bit easier for me to navigate and play this content for y'all. You know what I'm saying? So it was a video entitled Stutterbox implicates Wack 100 in extortion and blackmail of Shaq. And then we're going to finish that documentary. Then we're going to go to Chicago and fuck with my boy, man, and his documentary, right? Oh, I got to hit the thing. I'm tripping. All right, there we go. All right. So remember, they said that they said that he walked right into 77, but nah. What happens is he calls Darren Dupree. Darren Dupree tell him, go to the local police station and report that you was kidnapped and all of that. And that's when he goes into 77, which shows Stutterbox was already a long tail rat.
As the separate gears of the investigation that we had set in motion began to mesh, we got a call from an FBI agent who was working with an informant he thought might prove useful to us. His name was Robert Ross. The agent had been actively investigating Ross's gang, the Main Street Crips, and he informed us Ross had been helpful in providing inside information. Ross went by the name Stutterbox, Box for short, a reference to his habit of stammering when he got excited or scared. We made arrangements to meet the informant at a West Side Starbucks, and as we pulled into the parking lot on that crisp November morning, we spotted a man sitting in the driver's seat of a white Rolls-Royce Phantom. Darren and I looked at each other. Could this flamboyant individual be the guy we had come to talk to? But by that time, Stutterbox, flashing a large diamond stud earring, had gotten out of the Rolls and was walking toward us. Even if we didn't immediately recognize him, he seemed to a one-time Pacoima Piru, Stutterbox continued. Cash Jones was Suge's primary courier, running dope on a route up and down the West Coast from Washington State to National City, just below San Diego near the Mexican border. Jones, an operator-owner at a trucking firm, had a rig specially built to transport high-end autos, an echo of Kevin Davis's operation to run dope from California to Virginia using his auto restoration business. When we asked Ross how he was privy to this information, he told us that he and Jones were old friends. The two, in fact, had met with Suge in Las Vegas,
They met with
company
Suge in
of the
Vegas
alleged Mexican dealer. It was, on the face of it, a
with the
credible
Mexican
story,
drug dealer.
and became more so when Darren and I checked out as many of the details of Stutterbox's S account as we could. Although Cash Jones had a relatively slim rap sheet, a few juvenile offenses were all we could find. He had indeed been associated with the Pacoima Piru. But more than any single corroborating detail, the overriding fact was that Stutterbox was an FBI source. If he was good enough for them, we had more than enough reason to give him the benefit of the doubt. Accordingly, we put a GPS device on Jones's truck, enabling us to track where he was and where he was going at any given time. But he discovered the unit after an impromptu brake inspection at a highway rest stop. Alarmed at the strange black box stuck up under his chassis, he threw it into a field and notified the local police that someone had planted a bee. It was beginning to look like any of those scenarios, singly or in combination, might be true. In the weeks that followed, as we struggled to make sense of the strange new dimensions the case had taken, the investigation seemed at times to be collapsing in on itself, the same information repeating in different situations and circumstances until it became impossible to know what was real and what was a fantasy formulated by Stutterbox. The situation reached an extreme when I flew to Adanta to talk to another informant who claimed to have
Atlanta.
information on the Main Street Crips. I almost had to laugh when he told me that Stutterbox had been a hitman for Eric Zip Martin. The sense of unreality was subsequently ratcheted up when Stutterbox himself came to us with another news flash. He had it on good authority that Dwayne Keffy D. Davis was personally planning to rob one of the principals in the George Torres case I had investigated nearly 10 years earlier. Before we could find the answer, Ross upped the ante when he became the unlikely victim of a kidnapping and robbery, an incredible plot twist in an already improbable story. According to his account, he had been abducted from his roles while on the streets of West Hollywood by members of his own gang, the Main Street Crips, supposedly acting on orders of their much-feared leader, Liddell Del Dog Rolls. Pistol-whipped and robbed of his bling, he was forced to drive to a south-central neighborhood deep in the gang's territory, where he was released on the promise that he immediately return with $60,000 in cash. Instead, he placed a frantic call to Darren, begging.
So they released him to go get the tape and 60,000 more, 50,000 more. He didn't already. He already told these people Del Dog is the leader, right? And that's doing this enforcing. And he makes a frantic call, scared. Nigga, this nigga play all this gangster shit like he the motherfucking boogeyman, nigga. You thought you was the boogeyman, nigga. Nigga, until you got around them peoples and nigga, you lift your skirt up and it show you got a pussy, nigga. You know what I'm saying? Nigga, this nigga Stutterbox is a long tail rat. Hands down. He and his scary ass that went through this, and then he calls Darren Dupree. And listen to what Darren frantically calls Darren Dupree.
Begging for help. Dupree instructed him
Begging
to
for
contact
help.
the nearest
Listen.
$1,000 in cash. Instead, he placed a frantic call to Darren, begging for help. Dupree instructed him to contact the nearest law enforcement authorities. Sheriff's officers were duly summoned, and the story Stutterbox related to them managed to trump.
So now he goes in and he tells them, you know, you guys know the rest. But I definitely had to make sure that y'all knew that they just were allowing people to think that he got beat, told go get the sex tape of Shaq and go get some more money and come back. And he went right into 77 Division LAPD department. But that's false. He made a frantic call first to Darren Dupree, meaning they already had a phone-to-phone base relationship. Interesting. And now he talking about he not gonna tell. Get the fuck out of here, nigga. Give you what the fuck them niggas supposed to been gave your ass, nigga. Playing these games with Duse M. You don't know? Oh, you don't know? Yeah. But let's get to the content. Finish this documentary real quick. Let's go.
That events leading to the kidnapping started with a business deal going bad, where he was cut out of a deal with Shaq. Stutterbox said that Shaq and Del Dog only knew each other because he introduced him. He even said that Shaq even funded a documentary for Del Dog through his record label. By this time, Shaq was playing for the Miami Heat, but after being interviewed, Shaq said he met several Main Street Crip gang members while he was doing toy drives in South Central, but he did not have a personal relationship with them. He will also tell the police that he stopped all dealings with Stutterbox about a year before the interview because he was scared of Stutterbox's criminal troubles and believed it would be bad for his image. At the time of the attack on Stutterbox, the Main Street Crip gang members had already been under surveillance as a part of an ongoing federal investigation into the main streets. In one wiretap phone conversation 6 months after the attack, DeLdog told an associate of Shaq that Stutterbox had gone sour and began to snitch and talk to the police. Around 3 years after the attack on Stutterbox tried to sue, but this case will be dropped, and Shaq and the main streets will walk away free. Shaq will later distance himself from many of the gang members involved, but several years later, this will be brought up in several interviews by many people, including Reggie Wright.
Breakdown of the situation with Shaquille O'Neal and why you believe he truly left LA as far as the Lakers.
Yeah, Shaq somehow got up under. For those of y'all don't believe it, say, "Oh, Shaquille O'Neal don't need to hang out with no Main Street Mafia Crip guys or gang members." That's crazy. Never heard of that before. Well, just go listen to on Shaq, one of his latest podcasts, where they talked about DeLdog and gave him a shout out and all of that on that particular podcast. And so Shaq was in deep with mainstream mafia. As y'all, Shaq got up under the main streets and was cool with them. And he mainly got cool with this dude Stutterbox. Stutterbox is very respected, or was very respected out here in LA. Very. At one time, he was Main Street Mafia Crips. So it was a very respected neighborhood in LA. Shaq got it up under him somehow. But what Stutterbox messed up at is because when you get close to people, you start thinking you probably want more money or own more, deserve more money than what a person is giving you for whatever reasons. That's just how human nature is. That's just what happens.
As a contractor, I do think that TimberTech Vintage is one of the closest to Wood lookalikes. You know,
Stutterbox, for some reason, felt he was owed more by Shaquille O'Neal. He took, as I remember, the number was either $300,000 or $400,000. Forget what it was. But he allegedly had a picture, no, not a picture, a tape, video tape of him, I heard him sticking his fist up. Shaq's wife, I don't want to say her name because I like her and I know she's doing good things out there. She's the creator of Basketball Wives. I'm going to expose your wife if you don't pay me X amount of dollars.
Mm-hmm.
So Shaq is like devastated, like this.
Mm-hmm.
So now he goes and talk to other guys that's involved in Main Street. And they like, what? So DeLdog was like, hey, or whoever was like, oh, you ain't gonna be doing this to Shaq. Shaq, look out for us. So they started war within term.
Mm-hmm.
Where I think they did something to him. Kidnapped him, whooped on him, did something to Stutterbox.
Mm-hmm.
Where he was kind of like bandit from the hood. This court went to court to so y'all say he's snitching. How come I'm snitching on something that got transcripts and court paperwork out there? Well, he went to court, got on the stand, testified, but apparently they were all found not guilty. And but he was trying to get them put in jail to the point where Shaq almost got indicted behind that. They were close, very, very close to indicting him on that case.
DeLdog would be shot and killed in 2015. Shaq would continue to have a successful career, even outside of basketball. Recently, Stutterbox has been seen arguing over the internet with people like Wack 100. It looks like he still claims Main Street. This will conclude this episode. If you haven't already, Make sure you check out my previous episodes. Don't forget to like,
salute
comment, and
to
subscribe.
Warren Cali, man. Appreciate the content, man. You helping us contribute to telling this story, because it's video that I don't have to edit to tell it. You know what I'm saying? Save me some time. We finna get into this paperwork, but before we get into this paperwork, I want to go to my boys in Chicago because they covered it, and they covered it good too, man. I think that was it. Boom. Let's get to this. Shout out Street Certified News, my player partner, you know what I'm saying, gangsta. Go.
What's going on? I'm Larry Hoover Jr. and I'm rocking with Street Certified News. Oh, there's your boy Kiss, man. Shout out to Street Certified News. Hit him, Mr. Oh, yeah, y'all already know what it is, man. I'm rocking with Street Certified News. We got behind the scenes, man. We're gonna tie this bitch up. What up, this your boy Mom J. We rocking with Street Certified News.
Yeah, Street Certified News, man. Shout out Big Bo. Shout out Wack.
Certified, man.
Yo. It's your boy MXL Guapo, man. Street Certified News. And we back with another one. As you can see from the title, man, this week, man, we get real deep, man. The boy Wack 100. A few months ago, there were some interviews that came out from the dude, Robert Ross, a.k.a. Stutterbox, as well as Mark Stevens. Shout out, man, Big OG Spider-Lope, man. You know what I'm saying? They came on his podcast and they told, a story that was very compelling. You know what I'm saying? Also, man, shout out the boy Duse, man, Active Chucks. He's actually the director of the video about Wack 100 that's currently at like 2 million views on WorldStar right now. It's on their website as well as their YouTube channel. You know what I'm saying? We dug into this story, man. We wanted to start from like the most unbiased place possible. You know what I'm saying? In the past, we have made videos, you know what I'm saying? We have made fun of Wack 100. But like I said, man, when we saw a video on WorldStar, that necessarily didn't convince us that, bro was a rat. You know what I mean? We really went into this story like as unbiased as possible so that, we could give you guys the best story. And like I said, man, the information we're going to provide in this video, man, we stand on it 100%. Is literally we did all the due diligence we could. Before we get started, we need everybody to stop, smack the like button, man. Man, let's get this video to 1,000 likes, man. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes we say 500, sometimes we say 400, 300. Man, let's run this video to 1,000 likes. Like I said, man, we did our due diligence in this video. We reached out to people. You know what I'm saying? We checked paperwork. We did everything we could possibly do to bring you guys like the most accurate story on this whole Wack 100 CS2 situation. You know what I'm saying? So this week's story, how the boy Wack 100 exposed himself as a federal informant, and how all of this started with the Main Street Mafia Crips and LA Lakers star Shaquille O'Neal, man. Sound crazy already, I know, man. Hey, with no further ado, man, let's get right into it. February 2008, record producer and alleged Mafia Crip Robert Ross, while parked on the Sunset Strip in Hollywood, California, is approached by men he believed to also be associated with the Main Street Mafia Crips. These men directed Mr. Ross to follow them to a different location, to the home of Main Street Crip leader Liddell Del Dog Rose. It was there where Robert Ross, aka Stutterbox, would testify he was beaten and told to fix his problems with Mark Stevens, a business manager who worked closely with Shaquille O'Neal. Ross would go on to testify that he also formerly worked for Shaquille O'Neal and Stevens as a music producer for artists signed to the record label DeJa34. This part of the story was like super important, man. Like I said, researching this story, man, the Main Street Mafia Crips popped up, as well as the dude Shaquille O'Neal, man. We gonna get into kind of how it all ends later. but we really wanted y'all to kind of see this part of the story because it's like a lot of coincidences as well as, you know what I'm saying, Wack 100, you know, many times inserting himself into certain situations, including eventually this one. We really wanted to tell y'all this part, but we promise y'all it's gonna get to Wack. You know what I'm saying? Eventually, court records would show that Robert Ross would testify that while he worked for Shaq, because of Ross's criminal past, would sometimes ask him to like do weird shit that he didn't feel like was in the, you know, music producer job title. It's also alleged around this time that Robert Ross, aka Stutterbox, he met Shaq's wife and allegedly may have had an affair with her and secretly recorded a sex tape. This sex tape would be something that Ross would admit that he told Shaq and Mark Stevens about only weeks before this encounter with the Main Street Crips. In July of 2008, after word was spread about the kidnapping, ultimately affecting Ross's business, the disgruntled producer would take his information to the LA County Sheriff, claiming Shaq and Mark Stevens paid the Main Street Crips to kidnap him and get him to give up the tape. Also during this meeting, Robert Ross would admit the sex tape was a hoax, meant to extort Shaq and Stevens for a larger cut in their music business. As a result, a wiretap would be placed on Mark Stevens and Ladell Rowell's phone. Now let's get to Wack 100. Wack 100, aka Cash Jones, by 2008, is a part-time music manager, part-time street politician, and full-time trucking company CEO. Being a former associate of Suge Knight and a Blood Gang member, Wack admits many people in the streets looked at his successful trucking company as a front. But Wack says he always did legitimate business through his companies. It was also during this time that Wack 100, aka Cash Jones, claims he was neighbors with a high-ranking Crip named Stutterbox, aka Robert Ross. Coincidentally, Wack 100 also at this time managed Ray J, who was signed to a joint venture between Mark Stevens' label and Suge Knight's DeJa34 Records. Like I said, man, doing the research on this video, like we ran into like hella weird coincidences like that. Bro lived next door to him. They became friends. He also was in business with Mark Stevens through DeJa34 Records and Ray J. And it was just a million different ways that like this story was twisted and turning, man. And it kind of like, it slowed me down. For people that don't know, that video hit World Star maybe like 2 days ago. During the process of, you know, doing our research, we happened to reach out to LAOG Spider Lope. We spoke with him and he introduced us to the boy Duse. For people who don't know, we got Spider Lope on the call, and then just give him your name, bro. Just so that everybody understand, like, you know, where you come from.
I'm Duse M, CEO of Active Chucks, and I also run the podcast, Damu and Kiwe Conversations. Wack 100 interviewed with Akademiks and Tekashi 6ix9ine. I'm a blood, homie, like from South Central LA. That's not something we condone, and that reflects on my community. So I seen him in Death of the Clout Chaser room, Big Chuck room, and I questioned him on that. Like he was talking about Big U going to see Jim Jones, and I'm like, well, he said, well, yeah, he gonna fuck with him because he haven't seen no paperwork. I said, well, rightfully so. You know what I'm saying? Till you see the paperwork, you don't just treat him out. You don't go do a crime with him because you hear speculation, but you don't just, you know what I'm saying, jump to no conclusions. He was like, yeah, that's how I go. I said, okay, but what in your situation, you don't need to see the paperwork. Tekashi 6ix9ine is publicly exposed as a federal informant, this and that. You don't see the hypocrisy in that? And then we went back and forth, and he was like, look, I see you understand the street shit, but where I'm at with my business, you not there, but I wasn't supposed to come in this room. I think the reason I came in this room was to get with you. If you want to do business or whatever you got going on, you need some help, holler at me. I hit him in his back channel and let him know I ain't on no bullshit with you. I just did 8 years in state prison, 10 years before that in federal prison. But I ain't trying to deal with you because I'm looking at it like he's a potential rat.
Following Ross, aka Stutterbox, telling the authorities about him being kidnapped by his own gang, he would go on to seemingly continue to live the same gangster lifestyle. No one had yet known Main Street was under investigation, and no one knew Ross was the main witness. In an interview with Bomb First, Wack 100 claims that he became friends with Stutterbox because they were neighbors, and that they would occasionally hang out with girls. Wack 100 would go on to claim that one of the women he hung out with, he would later go on to see at the Wilshire Federal Building, dressed in a law enforcement uniform. Wack would go on to claim that these girls that he met while hanging out with Robert Ross, aka Stutterbox, they asked him about drug buys and different things like this happened when he would hang out with him. In his interviews, he claims that it's these types of encounters that he believed led to an investigation on him. And, that's why his house was raided and all of these things. And like I said, it sounds very convenient and it sounds very plausible. But in later years, when Wack speaks about this arrest, and even when, he goes and gets cops to speak on his behalf about this arrest, it's never about drugs. And he claims that these women who were with Robert Ross, aka Stutterbox, he claims that these women were asking him about kilos and drugs, and I guess they thought maybe he used his trucks to transport drugs. But then when he gets his house raided, it's not about drugs. These type of stories, man, it's very important that like I said, we don't want to be first, man, but we want to be right. And the big thing about this story is that that video that hit World Star, a lot of people considered that video, kind of retaliation for some things that Wack 100 and others have kind of been spreading, some false stories about Nipsey Hussle's death. And that was something that we took into account, when we spoke with the OG Spider Low, when we spoke with the dude Duse, and we really, when we did our own due diligence, and that was one of the main reasons why we was like, man, we really want to add our own due diligence into this. And I told them dudes, like, look, I want to make sure that it don't look like this is coming from a person who don't like Wack 100. You see what I'm saying? Because it's one thing not to like somebody, and it's a whole nother thing to, literally lay out layer by layer exactly, why this dude is an informant and why he's basically admitted to it in interviews if you're able to piece the entire story together. So when we spoke with Duse specifically, man, and Big U, his name came up. This is what he had to say about, Big U's involvement in the production of this original video about Wack 100.
Bro, then he jumped on No Jumper and implicated Big U in a conspiracy to commit murder, insinuating that it was done because Nipsey Hussle was up next for the grid contract.
On top of that, he bring loose lip cannon on No Jumper, coerce him, and have him also implicate him in supplying guns to the Rolling 60s,
after he already been saying Big U is the subject of a potential RICO case right now. He the one that told the world that. He been trying to say the feds is interested in Big U for RICO scenarios, and then he doubled down and come out there talking about he been selling 20 guns and all that. Wow.
And extortion. He implicated him in 3 different crimes. Well, total 5 different crimes because he listed 3 names in extortion.
That nigga said Rick Ross and Meek Mill didn't even know Big U sent you, huh? Wow.
Right. Yeah, straight rats. But think about this also, bro. He said that I went on Federal Bureau of Prison website, right? If you go on there, type in Lamonte Sims, black, age 45, my case is going to come out. It shows that I was released 2011 for federal custody, right? I'm no longer on federal probation or supervised release, none of that shit.
Okay.
But when he said that he had a RICO coming, and at another time they said he got picked up and the RICO was already coming. First of all, if you don't know the RICO coming because it's sealed until it drops. You understand what I'm saying? So the only way you would know that a RICO was coming, if it was true, was if you had information from the police.
And hold on, Hunter, think he got it figured out. Don't even know. Big U was surprised to see it on World Star. Everybody know Big U got the World Star plug. Goofy, that you didn't tell no secret.
So why is
you
people
figure something out, nigga?
So why is people saying that this? Yeah, like I was gonna say, a lot of fans are saying this just like get back for the shit that they put on No Jumper. You know what I'm saying?
No, I mean, you know what you say, a lie unchallenged becomes the truth.
Facts.
So perhaps it is an answer, but it's not a fabrication. It's not a production.
Right. Well, let me tell you this, bro. I already worked on this. You've seen the other 3 videos. I don't have a louder voice of them. I needed a marketing plan, a marketing strategy. So when what's the name? When Big U seen it, he said, "Bro, more people need to hear this. I got the Checking In podcast. If you give me a license, I can let them promote it for you."
On August 5th, 2008, only 5 months since the kidnapping of Robert Ross, aka Stutterbox, a 7-minute wiretap conversation was recorded. The target of the wiretap is Mark Stevens, and he is recorded on the line with another target, Lindell Dale Dog Rouse, the alleged leader of the Main Street Mafia Crips. During the call, Stevens is recorded asking Dale if he wants to speak with the Wack boy, to which Dale declines. Stevens goes on to say that he doesn't help him, and that he called him out of the blue just the day before, August 4th, with the request. This recorded wiretap will also be transcribed for future court proceedings. In the official wiretap transcript document, and before you actually get to the conversation, it is noted that the man police refer to as confidential source 2, aka Back, is stated as the person attempting to get in contact with Dale Dog through Mark Stevens. In this exact conversation, Stevens refers to the same man who wants to speak with Dale as the Wack boy. Coincidentally, the Wack boy, aka CS2, aka Back, was calling to inform Stevens and Dale that Robert Ross, aka Stutterbox, was an informant, and they were likely under investigation. Eventually, 7 Main Street Crips, along with alleged leader Liddell Dale Dog Rouse, were arrested and charged with the kidnapping of Robert Ross, aka Stutterbox. NBA star Shaquille O'Neal would even be questioned about his reported ties to the Main Street Crips, but Shaq was eventually cleared. Ultimately, the overall lack of evidence and inconsistency in Robert Ross's original story led to the charges being dropped. What we want to do is we just want to lay out the facts. We want to lay out things that if you go through yourself, all of these interviews and all of these different pieces of information, if you were to go through all this information, none of this information is refuted. Wack 100 admits that he learned Robert Ross was an informant while he was picking up paperwork at the Wilshire Federal Building. This happened to be after his home was raided. He was never charged with anything. And, you know, he admits he was there, and he admits that's when he learned Robert Ross was an informant. That's a fact. So that's the first fact. So the second fact that was very important in this case is that the LA County Sheriff wiretap transcripts stated that a man by the name of Back, aka CS2, contacted Mark Stevens on August 5th. Well, he contacted him on August 4th, 2008, and Mark Stevens then contacted Dale Dog about this call on August 5th, 2008. Mark Stevens referred to this dude as the Wack boy, and the government referred to him as confidential source 2 and Back. Also recently, man, this dude Wack 100, you know, now he's claiming that he helped 7 Main Street Crips avoid jail. I guess recently he was in, on Clubhouse in the depth of the Clout Chaser room, and he claims that, you know, there's no way he could be a snitch because he actually helped 7 Main Street Crip members avoid jail, which, to be honest, man, like we said, all of this really came full circle, man. You know, that is exactly what CS2 did, aka Back, aka the Wack Boy. He called and he warned the Main Street Crips about a snitch, not even potentially. He called and warned them about a snitch. They were able to distance themselves and really shut down all communication, eventually causing these charges to get dropped. So basically at this point, like we said, man, at the beginning of the video, the boy Wack 100 has finally admitted that he is CS2. I guess his thing is nobody went to jail. He actually helped people get out of jail. But at the end of the day, man, Wack 100 is CS2 in that Main Street Crip, Mark Stevens, Ladell Rawls paperwork. It's the dude Wack 100, man. Shout out to the OG Spider Loke, man. You know what I'm saying? Man, he really tapped me into some real good insight and some real good information. Y'all check out his podcast because, like I said, he has interviews with Mark Stevens as well as Robert Ross Stutterbox. Even though Stutterbox, you know what I'm saying, he told, but at least you can hear, you know, his part, and it does help kind of fill in certain gaps or whatever. You know what I mean? Also, man, shout out to dude Duse, man. Video on World Star right now, over 2 million views, man. They breaking down the paperwork of the boy Wack 100. Like I said, man, y'all go check that out, man. Hey, it's your boy Marcel Guapo, man. Street Certified News, the most reputable source for urban media, man. And hey, you know what I'm saying? This is something we can stand, man. We stand on it. Man, the boy Wack 100, man, CS2, man. Government informant, Rap 100, whatever you want to call him, man. It's what it is, man. You know what I'm saying? We tried to come at it from the most unbiased, neutral place. We listened to what he said. We listened to what everybody said. We read the paperwork. We looked at the timelines. We looked at the arrest reports. We looked at everything we could look at. And based off of what Wack has said himself, CS2 can't be nobody else. Like I said, but Wack 100, man. Hey, it's your boy MXO Guapo, man. Street Certified News, the most reputable source for urban media, man. Make sure you hit that like, comment, and subscribe, man. Fuck with your boy, man. We love you.
Salute. Street Certified News. Salute, 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 man. Appreciate you running that content. We was viral. That video on World Star Hip Hop ended up doing 3 million views before Wack 100 had his people take it down. And we're going to get into this paperwork because we're going to run this content tonight, and I want to have this paperwork already read so you guys can hear some of these, hear some about who these police officers is, who's doing this investigation. So you don't gotta believe me. You know what I'm saying? You do not have to believe me at all. Let's see, we go right here. Bam. All right, so we got page 1. All right, boom. So let's go here. Boom. All right, County of Los Angeles Sheriff's Department supplementary report. January 12, 2009. File number, and there goes the 408-01379-0987-037. Crime, kidnapping, 207 PC, robbery, and 211. Right? The action is an active victim witnesses interview. Victim, Robert Ross. Defendant, date, February 11, 2008, a Monday at 1200 hours. The location, Sunset Boulevard, West Hollywood, and there's the address where he was allegedly kidnapped. Ladell Rawls, James Herbin, a.k.a. Wood, Marlon Hunt, a.k.a. Pat Rat, Deion Hawkins, a.k.a. D-Lo, Wingate, Taekwon Wingate, a.k.a. SK, Eddie Hill, a.k.a. Lil West, and Brandon Nieder, a.k.a. 50 Cent. You know what I'm saying? So that was page 1. Page 2. On February 10th, 2008, victim Robert Ross was kidnapped from the parking lot of the Pink Dot, a business located on Sunset Boulevard in the city of West Hollywood. He was ordered at gunpoint to enter his vehicle and drive to 127 East 104th Street, Los Angeles. Once at that location, he was assaulted and robbed of his jewelry and money. After being allowed to leave the location, Ross drove to the LAPD 77 Division to report the crime. We already showed y'all. First, he called Darren Dupree. Then he did that. LAPD notified West Hollywood Sheriff Station of the crime, which initiated in their jurisdiction, and they dispatched a radio car to take the first report. Los Angeles Police Department Detective Mark Arenas assumed the investigation from West Hollywood Sheriff Station due to his involvement in an ongoing federal investigation involving the Main Street Crips. So when this happened, the Mark Arenas assumed the investigation because the feds is already investigating the Main Street Crips. So on February 12, 2008, Detective Mark Arenas and Christian Marikich. Marikich is the name I couldn't pronounce. Remember, I was showing you guys the picture of Christian Marikich. I couldn't pronounce his name, but that was him. Interviewed victim Ross. So that's who initially interviewed Robert Ross in relations to this crime. He already had a relationship with Darren Dupree, but he gets interviewed about being assaulted, kidnapped, etc. They showed him a series of 6-packs containing the suspects involved in the kidnap, robbery, and assault. The following suspects were positively identified by the victim Ross. So he pointed these people out of the 6-pack. James Harbin, a.k.a. Lil Wood, Deion Hawkins, a.k.a. D-Lo, Eddie Hill, a.k.a. Lil West, Taekwon Wingate, a.k.a. SK, a single photograph of Liddell Ross, a.k.a. Delta, was shown to victim Ross, which he also positively identified, and he picked out Delta. It should be noted that victim Ross grew up with all of the suspects and has known them for years. After the 6-packs were shown, the case was reassigned to the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department Major Crimes Bureau, Detective Marcelo Quintero. So now you had some FBI agents and who had the case, right? They picked up the case from Arenas and Mirovich because they picked up the case initially because of the ongoing federal Main Street case. Then it goes to Arenas and Mirovich doing the interview, and then the Los Angeles County Sheriffs pick it up. The investigation was delayed due to the ongoing federal investigation and wiretap case involving several of the suspects involved in the kidnap robbery. Notice they differentiate from the ongoing federal investigation and the wiretap case involving several of the suspects involved in the kidnap robbery. July 16, 2008, investigators Fournier and Coet spoke with Detective Quintero regarding the above case, right? Investigators told Detective Quintero that they were assigned to a task force with Los Angeles Police Department, and they were involved in the Main Street Crip investigation. Investigators requested this case be reassigned to them, and their request was granted. So now, after reviewing the case, investigators formulated a plan to speak with suspects involved with the kidnapping, robbery, and assault of victim Ross. The purpose of the plan was to stimulate conversations on the wiretap. We're going to go interview, this what the pig said. We're going to go interview all of these dudes that's been picked out, shake them up a little bit. Hopefully we catch them talking on the wiretap. about the crime because they a little nervous, shaking in they motherfucking in they boots. Investigators Paul Fournier and Michael Kiwe interviewed victim Ross at the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Homicide Bureau. Investigators Fournier and Kiwe explained to Ross that they would now be handling this case and would like to obtain a detailed statement regarding the event. So first he interviewed with Arenas and Christian Markic, and then he later interviewed with the leads of the investigation for the Main Street case, Paul Fournier and his partner, Michael Kiwe. So that's page 1. Let's go. I mean, page 2. Let me see if y'all could, let me get up out of here. Boom. I could start back over. It seemed like it was kind of stuck. So we can get back up over here. All right. Boom. 3. Ross stated that on February 10th, 2008, he drove to the West Hollywood area to meet some friends at the Pink Dot located on Sunset Boulevard. He estimated that he arrived at the location around 10 p.m. He parked his vehicle in the driveway to the location, then got out and began talking with an acquaintance only known as H. Approximately 10 to 20 minutes later, Ross recognized a member of the Main Street Crips gang known to him as Wood. So now he put Wood at the crime scene where he was allegedly kidnapped. Real name James Harbin. Pulled his truck up next to the location and stopped. Harbin exited the vehicle and walked across the street and began urinating in the bushes. Harbin got back into the truck, drove 1 block away, pulled over and stopped. Approximately 3 to 4 minutes later, 3 other vehicles pulled up next to Harbin. All the vehicles then made a U-turn and drove back to the Pink Dot. Harbin parked his truck behind Ross's vehicle, which prevented him from leaving. Harbin exited his truck, approached Ross, and told him that Dog, real name Liddell Ross, wanted to see him. Ross explained that Dog, or Del Dog, is the shot caller leader of the Main Street Crip gang. Harbin told Ross all the homies are strapped, meaning they all had guns on them. If we wanted to kill you, we could kill you. Ross recognized D-Lo, Deion Hawkins, Pat Rat, Marlon Hunt, and SK, Taekwon Wingate, all Main Street Crip gang members at the location. There were other younger members from the gang who he did not recognize. Ross could see that they were all armed. Harbin called Ross on his cell phone and told him, "We got him." Ross heard Ross say, "If he tries to get away, y'all do him." Ross understood this to mean if he tries to escape, to kill him. Harbin handed Ross his phone, and he spoke with Ross, telling him that he didn't want to go back to the neighborhood because he was scared for his life. Oh, the big tough nigga. So Del, he get on the phone, "Man, I don't want to go to the hood. I'm scared for my life." Ross told him that he had no choice and said, I knew I'd get you. He then told Ross to give the phone back to Harbin. Harbin told Ross to get inside the car and that he would ride with him back to the neighborhood. Wingate got in the back seat of Ross's vehicle. However, Harbin told him to get out and go back in the vehicle he came in. Ross drove his vehicle back towards the neighborhood as instructed, with Harbin riding in the passenger seat, armed with a handgun. Deion Hawkins followed behind, driving Harbin's vehicle. Someone from the group drove Hawkins' black Yukon Denali pickup truck back to the neighborhood. 2 other vehicles, described as a blue Chevrolet Tahoe and a small car, followed behind them. Once arriving in the neighborhood, Harbin told Ross to park in the driveway next door to Ryle's house. The house belonged to a fellow Main Street Crip member named Big Herb. Ross was instructed to get out of his car. Harbin escorted Ross to Ryle's house, where he was waiting out front. Also at the location was Deion Hawkins, D-Lo, Marlon Hunt, Pat Rat, and Ross's cousin, Eddie Hill, Lil West. So his own cousin there watching him, knowing he finna get his ass whooped, right? And oh, this is nasty work. But I see Robert Ross was made sure that he put that house in a Riles acknowledged if that's where the crime took place. Now they got probable cause to run up in there for any evidence. Rawls acknowledged Harbin and Hawkins for their successful job. Harbin then left this location. Riles had Hawkins move Ross's car from Herb's driveway to the rear of Rawls' house where it could not be seen. Riles, Hill, and Hunt then began striking Ross about his head and body with clenched fists. Riles escorted Ross through a side gate, loading up to the entrance to the house. He told Hill and Hunt to remain out front and be a lookout. Ross estimated that he was on the front porch of the house for 1 hour. During this time, Riles told him, "I've been waiting to get my hands on your ass." And he hit Ross over the head and in the face with a .45 caliber pistol. The force from being struck with the gun caused his bottom lip to split open and caused contusions to his head and body. After approximately 1 hour after arriving, Riles escorted Ross to a converted music studio located in the rear of the house. Riles struck Ross a few more times, then took his diamond necklace and Rolex watch and a pair of 1-carat diamond earrings from his person. Riles also removed $15,000 cash from Ross's pockets. Ross explained that he had this money to purchase a vehicle the following day. During the assault, Riles told Ross, "Mark and Shaq know who the real boss is now," and said, "Why shouldn't I kill you right now?" Ross then demanded the videotape and $100,000. Ross explained that this kidnapping and assault was the result of a business deal gone bad, and Shaquille O'Neal's belief that Ross had a sex tape of him, O'Neal, with a woman who was not his wife, and that Ross was having an affair with his wife, Shani. He said that near the end of 2007, he befriended a rap artist named Ray J. Ross negotiated with a music recording executive named Mark Stevens, whose business is located in Atlanta, Georgia. Stevens is partnered with NBA player Shaquille O'Neal, who funded the company. During the negotiations, Stevens agreed to pay a percentage of the profits to Ross if Ray J signed with Koch Entertainment, which is based in New York. November 2007, Ross flew with Ray J to New York to meet with Alan Koch and Mark Stevens regarding the recording contract. A few weeks later, Ross met with Stevens regarding his contract and the recording contract for Ray J. During this meeting, Stevens let Ross know that he would not be receiving any money for his involvement in the project and that there was only one contract, and that was for Ray J. Ray J refused to sign the contract at that time, and the deal was held back for approximately 3 weeks. Ultimately, Ross convinced Ray J that he should sign anyway and that he would deal with his own contract issues later. During the next few weeks, Ross continued to request his money from Mark Stevens. Stevens made it clear he was to get nothing. Ross also talked to Shaquille O'Neal in hopes that he would agree to pay the money owed. During this period of time, O'Neal apparently was going through marital discord and had his wife followed by private investigators. O'Neal received photographs of his wife having lunch with Ross and became angry and got a message to Ross that their business was done and to stay away from my wife. That's dangerous. Ross, who was still upset over the fact he was owed money, had a friend named Cash Jones deliver a message to Mark Stevens and Shaquille O'Neal. So I guess Shaq and Mark Stevens did stop taking his calls, Stutterbox calls. So at this time, remember, Cash Jones, if you heard Mark Stevens, was working security for Ray J at that time. So he would be with Ray J and would still have to be in connect with Mark Stevens, and Shaquille O'Neal. So Jones told him that Ross had a videotape. So Cash Jones, Wack 100, told Mark Stevens and Shaquille O'Neal that Ross had a videotape of O'Neal having sex with a woman inside of Ross's home in July 2007. Stevens, who had been to Ross's home, knew he had surveillance cameras throughout his home, and that O'Neal had in fact been there. Ross told investigators Fournier and Coet that he viewed the surveillance footage from the surveillance system monitor. However, he never downloaded it to tape. He said the footage has since been recorded over by later surveillance. Ross was adamant that he was just bluffing in hopes that he would get the money that was owed to him. The kidnapping and the robbery of Stutterbox took place approximately 2 weeks after Cash Jones delivered the message to Mark Stevens and Shaq. So as soon as the attempted extortion, as soon as the attempted blackmail took place, it wasn't even 2 weeks later, the Main Street Crips was machine in motion, nigga demonstrations. Investigators asked Rose why Mark Stevens and or O'Neal would have Liddell Ross organize and execute the kidnapping robbery. Ross explained that early on with his negotiations with O'Neal, Ross brought O'Neal to the Main Street Crip neighborhood and introduced him to Rouse. O'Neal quickly realized that Rouse was the leader of the Main Street Crips and befriended him. O'Neal funded a documentary for Rouse under his personal record label called DeJa34. Ross claims that O'Neal has been to the neighborhood on several occasions. In one of O'Neal's rap songs, Can't Stop the Rain, O'Neal acknowledges Rouse and Ross by their gang monikers Dog and Box and acknowledges the Main Street Crips. Investigators asked Ross how he was able to escape from Rouse's house. He said he told Rouse that he had made a call to his mother and sister prior to his arrival at Rouse's house, and they would wonder what happened to him if he never made it home. Ross also promised Rouse that he would get him the tape and $60,000 in cash by 2 a.m. if he let him go. Rouse took all Ross's keys except for one car key and a house key and allowed him to leave. Ross immediately drove to Los Angeles Police Department 77 Division and reported the incident. On July 23rd, 2008, at approximately 11:30 hours, investigators Fournier and Coet drove to 123 West 104th Street, Los Angeles, to speak with Liddell Ross regarding his case. Ross was at the location with fellow Main Street Crip gang members Herb Brown, Deion Hawkins, Kevin Herron, and Robert Evans. Investigators walked approximately 60 feet away from the group to interview Rouse. Investigators told Rouse that Robert Ross made a criminal complaint listing him as suspect of a kidnap, robbery, and assault. Rouse said he has known Ross since they were kids. He denied any knowledge of that kidnap, robbery, and assault and said victim Ross is a liar. Rouse cannot provide any reason as to why victim Ross would implicate him in this case. Rouse agreed to take a polygraph and provided the opportunity. No details of the case were given to Rouse as far as the location or the city where the crime occurred. On July 23rd, 2008, at approximately 12:35 hours, Kevin Herron called James Harbin and told him that sheriff's detectives had just detained him along with other members of the gang and questioned Rouse about the box, nicknamed for Ross, incident. Harbin asked Herron up on Sunset, referring to the location the kidnap occurred. At no time did investigators provide the location where the kidnap occurred. Harbin continually referred to his not being comfortable talking on the phone. So, yeah, he telling Kevin Herron hey, bro, I don't feel comfortable talking on the phone about this. Why is you talking about where the location of the crime and all of this shit? And the phones was wiretap. Attached is a copy of the transcribed call between Heron and Harbin, which was intercepted pursuant to a federal Title III wiretap case. Refer to session 20721. So yeah, the feds already got these dudes' phones tapped, and that conversation, incriminating conversation, talking about the location of the kidnap. When the police talked to them, never even gave that information. So where'd you get it from? On July 23rd, approximately 13:05 hours, Liddell Ross called James Harbin and told him he needed to talk to him about some serious stuff. Ross and Ross put the police on him about kidnapping. Harbin said, "That's a long time ago. What's his bitch ass nigga doing now?" Referring to the kidnap occurring 5 months ago and wondering why Ross was reporting it now. Rouse told Harbin not to talk about it on the phone. So now these niggas is doing too much talking on the phone about the thing. Attached is a copy of the transcribed call between Rouse and Harbin, which was intercepted pursuant to a federal Title III wiretap case. Refer to session 20736. Right? On July 30th, 2008, at approximately 09:30 hours, investigators Fournier and Shanka spoke with James Harbin, 10732 Broadway Avenue, Los Angeles. They told Harbin that Robert Ross made a police report listing him as a suspect of a kidnap, robbery, and assault. The information given to Harbin was that it occurred on February 10th into the 11th of 2008, the night of the Grammy Awards. Investigators told Harbin that Ross accused him of ordering him into Ross's vehicle at gunpoint and driving him back to Main Street Crip Gang's neighborhood. At no time did investigators indicate the location Hollywood where the kidnap occurred. Harbin denied any involvement or knowledge regarding the kidnap of Ross. Investigators asked Harbin if he would be willing to submit to a polygraph examination. He said we should get Ross to submit because he lies. Investigators then asked Harbin if he would voluntarily submit to a DNA sample. He refused. On July 30th, 2008, at approximately 09:58 hours, James Harbin called Liddell Ross to tell him about his being questioned regarding the Robert Ross kidnapping. During that conversation, Harbin told Ross that bitch went to the police, referring to Ross making a police report. Rouse tried to assure Harbin that the police couldn't close their case until they talked to everyone that Ross said was involved. He went on to say that the police were just trying to catch someone saying something different from the rest. Harbin told Ross, I said I was staying at the homie's house that day. There can't be no different. Let's see what he say. There can't be no different shit. Rouse told Harbin that, nigga, I don't need no coaching, and that no one needed to talk to the police. Either they were going to arrest you or they were not. You see what I'm saying? Dealt dog, my type of nigga. That's what I was always on. Nigga, what you want to talk to me about if you already got me? You know what I'm saying? Hold on, I got a text from J.O. Right. So later during the conversation, Harbin told Ross that the police tried to get him to submit to a DNA sample. Ross responded by saying he thought the police were just using different tactics. He said if they wanted to do that, cuz I feel like if the nigga was bloody and blood from a nigga got on that nigga, believe me, they would have done that shit as soon as they seen me. Although attempting to talk in code, Rouse was referring to his belief that the police would have asked him for a DNA when interviewed on July 23rd. because of Ross's blood transference onto Rawls during the assault, right? Attached is a copy of the transcribed call between Harbin and Rawls, which was intercepted pursuant to a federal Title III wiretap case. Refer to session 16938. This is how you get caught up on a federal wiretap. So on July 31st, 2008, at approximately 0008 hours, James Harbin received a call from fellow Main Street Crip gang member Brandon Nieder, aka 50 Cent. During the call, Harbin asked Nieder if he was out there that night with them. Harbin referred to the night as that shit that happened on Sunset with that nigga Box. Nieder agreed, saying, yeah, cuz I was with you. Harbin told Nieder, you was with me, cuz that bitch ass nigga we found. That bitch ass nigga we found, nigga. Nieder again agreed, saying, it was me and you, cuz. Harbin told Nieder about his being questioned earlier in the day by the sheriffs. Harbin said Ross made a report but didn't press charges because if he had, they would be gone. Harbin expressed concern that the police knew everything regarding the kidnapping and was surprised the police hadn't gone over to the location where Neeler was staying to question him. Attached is a copy of the transcribed call between Harbin and Nieder, which was intercepted pursuant to federal Title III wiretap case. They got caught up on that one too, man. You know what I'm saying? Then July 31st, 2008, approximately 1725 hours, James Harbin received a phone call from fellow Main Street Crip gang member Kevin Herron, aka Shaq. Harbin told Herron that Ross went straight to the police to report the kidnap, robbery, and assault. Hold on, bro. Hello? Y'all gotta bear a second. This is my little brother.
California. This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. To accept this call, say or dial 5 now. Thank you for using Global Tel Link.
Yeah. What up?
Who just got killed?
I don't know. What you talking about?
Lil H just got killed?
Who?
Lil H and Blackstone. They said, Sharonda said everybody posting it online that rest in peace Lil H. So V.I.T. Lil H.
Oh, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I'll check on it, but I'm recording right now. I'm going to check on it. Good looking. All right. So where we was at on August 1st, 2008, at approximately 09:12 hours, James Harbin received a phone call from Liddell Rawls. Rawls wanted to know who said something to Pat Rat, Marlon Hunt, about the Ross incident. Harbin said, shit, he was there. Rawls responded saying, I mean, he was there, but I mean, he wasn't there when they swooped on us. Rawls was referring to Hunt being present during the assault, robbery, and kidnap. All right, let's go. Not when investigators Fournier and Coette detained Rawls for questioning. Harbin said Hunt asked him last night what was going on. Harbin assumed Hunt heard about the investigators questioning Rawls, then Harbin and became concerned for himself regarding his involvement. Harbin told Hunt if the sheriffs do come to question him, he should watch his ass and know what to say to them. Harbin told Lil West, Eddie Hill, the same thing. Rawls told Harbin that Hunt should not be walking up to people and talking about the incident, and should not. Oh yeah, that's nasty work. And should keep his mouth closed. Riles said Hunt talked to Deion Hawkins, and although Hawkins know what's going on, he shouldn't be saying nothing. Riles said that's how niggas fuck up right there when they start running their mouths. Attaches a copy of the transcribed wiretap call between Harbin and Rawls, which was intercepted pursuant to federal Title III wiretap case referred to Sessions 22-688. So you see how the wiretaps get transcribed and then they have the number? That's like the wiretap we got with CS2 back. On August 2nd, 2008, at approximately 0859 hours, James Harbin received a phone call from Tiamo James. Harbin told James that the sheriffs have been following him because someone filed an assault and kidnap report. James asked if the case occurred in the sheriff's jurisdiction. Harbin said no, it was way out on Sunset. James asked when the crime occurred. Harbin said February. Attached is a copy of the transcribed call between Harbin and James, which was intercepted pursuant to a federal Title III wiretap case referred to Session 22925. On August 3rd, 2008, LAPD investigators received a call from victim Ross. Ross told them that he loaned his car to his friend Clarence Galbert, a.k.a. Boo. On August 2nd, Galbert called Ross saying several Main Street Crip gang members came to his house looking for Ross. Liddell Ross was among the group. Riles wanted Ross to come to the Galbert's residence, at which time he would return his money and jewelry. Ross got on his phone with Ross and told him go to Galbert's house and he would return his shit. Ross immediately hung up the phone and called the LAPD. Wow, not the big bad killer. Pussy. The nigga turned pussy, nigga. That nigga said, nigga, come over here and get your shit. He didn't have the heart. That nigga called LAPD. If you dealing with the sheriffs, why is you steadily calling these LAPD officers and deputized federal agents? LAPD dispatched several units to Galbert's residence and detained numerous individuals. Among the persons detained were Liddell Ross and Clarence Galbert. For additional information, refer to LAPD records. So you see how you got these as sheriff records. You have federal wiretaps. You have Greg Caden's wiretaps, their transcribed version of it, the Greg Caden's transcribed version of it, and then the LAPD records. You know what I'm saying? So we need to pull that up. Ross told investigators Fournier and Coet that he called Galbert after approximately 90 minutes had passed. Ross said he was mad at Galbert for putting Rawls on the phone with him. Galbert explained that Rawls had just showed up and didn't give Galbert a choice about making the phone call to Ross. Galbert told Ross he thought Rawls was sincere about returning his money and jewelry. Rawls told Galbert that he had just gone. Hold on. Damn, that nigga said, hey, no, I thought he was really going to give you your shit back. Oh, you thought he was going to give his shit back? You ain't that smart. Good luck with that one. Nigga done took it while I'm going to give it back. To church and felt Ross had done more good for him than bad and just wanted to return his property. On August 5th, 2008, at 09:22 hours, Liddell Rawls received a phone call from Mark Stevens. Rawls told Stevens that Ross had gone sour and the police have contacted him. Rawls said after church he stopped over booze, Clarence Galbert's house. Rawls told Galbert to get Ross on the phone. Rawls told Stevens that Ross was scared to get on the phone. While talking with Ross, a police helicopter and police cars arrived. Yeah, that nigga That nigga told them they to come meet him over there. That nigga got the helicopter and everybody to rush up over there. Attached is a copy of the transcribed call between Rawls and Stevens, which was intercepted pursuant to federal Title III wiretap case, referred to Sessions 18202, right? On August 21st, 2008, at approximately 1300 hours, investigators went to LA Police Department Parking Center Jail to speak with Marlon Hunt, aka Pat Rat, who was in custody on an unrelated matter. Hunt admitting knowing Ross but denied any knowledge of the kidnap, robbery, and assault. On August 26, 2008, at approximately 1403 hours, investigators Fournier and Coed went to Men's Central Jail to speak with Taekwon Wingate, aka SK, regarding this case. Prior to speaking with him, investigators advised him of his Miranda rights. Wingate said he understood his rights and agreed to speak with them without an attorney present. Oh, is that right? Investigators asked Wingate if he knew victim Ross and if he had any information regarding this case. Wingate told investigators that he has only heard of victim Ross and did not know him personally, and that he had no knowledge of the kidnap, robbery, and assault. Investigators using Roos asked, how is it possible that Wingate's fingerprints were in the rear seat of victim Ross's vehicle? Wingate said he was in Hollywood with his girlfriend Doris, NFD, when he saw several nice-looking cars parked along the road. Wingate said the cars were open, so he would get inside and look around. He said there must have been something big going on because there were paparazzi all around, right? So investigators asked Wingate if one of the vehicles he sat in was a Rolls Royce. He replied by saying yes, it was another, either a white or tan color Rolls. It should be noted that victim Ross drove an off-white colored Rolls Royce the night of the incident. We running through it though. We got a couple more pages. On August 26, 2008, at 14:45 hours Pacific Standard Time, investigators placed a call to Mark Stevens' place of business, DeJa34 in Atlanta, Georgia. No one answered the phone, and investigators left a message on his voicemail. The messages was as follows and was tape recorded on our end. Yes, hello, this is Detective Fournier with the Los Angeles County Sheriff Department Homicide Bureau. This call is for Mark Stevens. Mr. Stevens, if you could return my call, I am investigating a robbery kidnap that occurred back in February of this year, 2008. Your name came up. I have some questions. You can reach me at 323-890-5558. On September 9th, 2008, at approximately 11:45 hours, investigators spoke with Los Angeles police officers Obed Elvis and Matthew Casalico via telephone. Both officers were working the desk at 77 Division on February 10th, 2008, and remember victim Ross coming into the station to report the kidnapping, robbery, and assault. The officers said victim Ross' face was cut and bleeding, and his clothes were bloody. They said victim Ross told them the crime occurred at 104th Street and Main Street in Los Angeles Police Southeast Division jurisdiction. The officers said they called Southeast Division and had a patrol vehicle dispatched to take a crime report. On September 11, 2008, at approximately 1300 hours, investigators interviewed Ray J. Norwood. Norwood is the rapper who victim Ross introduced to Mark Stevens to facilitate a recording contract with Koch Entertainment in New York. Norwood told investigators, so now they're talking to Ray J. Norwood told investigators that he and Ross are neighbors and became friends. He learned that Ross had connections in the music industry and inquired about making a contact regarding the record deal. Ross introduced Norwood to Mark Stevens, the co-owner of DeJa34 record label based in Atlanta, Georgia. In November 2007, Ross traveled with Norwood to New York to meet with Mark Stevens, and at Koch Entertainment, Stevens made it clear that Ross would receive his fair cut, a percentage from sales, if Norwood was to sign with Koch Entertainment. After weeks passed, Ross learned that he would not be compensated for his involvement in the signing of Norwood. Koch Entertainment became impatient and threatened to cut the deal off. Ross told Norwood to go ahead and sign the contract and that he would deal with his own issues with Stevens. It was Norwood's belief that Ross was not treated fairly and should have been compensated for his role in the project, especially after Stevens told him he would be compensated. Norwood told investigators that he acknowledged Ross on the latest album cover by writing "Box. Thanks for putting this whole deal together." So Ray J saying that they were scandalous for cutting Box out like that, man. Do y'all agree? You know what I'm saying? On September 17, 2008, investigators interviewed Mark Edward Stevens at the Los Angeles County Sheriff Homicide Bureau. Also present during the interview was Mr. Stevens' attorney, Nicholas Tonsich. Investigators asked Stevens how he first learned of the kidnap investigation regarding Robert Ross. Stevens said after investigators left a message saying that they wanted to talk to him regarding the kidnap and assault investigation occurring in Los Angeles, he deducted that Ross was the victim. He believed this because several months ago, he received a phone call from Ross's brother and recording artist Ray J telling him that Ross had been beaten up. Stevens later said he believed calls from Ross's brother and Cash Jones. Stevens claimed no knowledge of the kidnapping. So Mark Stevens said, man, I learned about the kidnapping and all of that from Stutterbox's brother and Cash Jones. Stevens told investigators that he is the business partner of longtime friend Shaquille O'Neal. Together, they own a recording company called DeJa34 Enterprises. They have known Robert Ross for the past 4 to 5 years. Ross was well known in the Los Angeles area and knew a lot of recording artists. When artists would be looking for a recording contract, they would contact Ross, who would broker the deal. During the latter part of 2007, Ross introduced the recording artist Ray J to Stevens. Ross flew with Ray J to New York to meet the executives from Koch Entertainment. Ray J signed a recording contract with Koch Entertainment. Ross was paid $20,000 for a finder's fee by DeJa34. According to Stevens, Ross thought he should have been paid a percentage of the total deal and was not happy with the amount he received. Stevens said there was no contract for Ross's involvement in the deal and he felt he was adequately compensated. I don't know. That's not, listen, bro. This nigga already driving in Bentleys and all that. What's 20 Cent gonna be to him, bro? During the same period of time, O'Neal and Stevens felt Ross was causing too much bad publicity for them because he had been arrested for possession of a firearm and was dropping O'Neal's name to police when stopped for a traffic violation. O'Neal and Stevens therefore made the decision to sever all ties with Ross. Within the next couple months, Stevens received a voicemail message from Ross stating, "I need to talk to you, man. The big fella, he's slipping. He's making a lot of mistakes." Soon after that, Mark Stevens received a call from Cash Jones. Jones told him that Ross had a videotape of Shaquille O'Neal having sex with a woman, not his wife, at Ross's home, and that Ross could take the tape. He could take the tape to TMZ and get a lot of money. You know what I'm saying? Investigators asked Stevens if Ross, Jones, or anyone else ever demanded money in exchange for the tape. Stevens said no, and he felt that this was an attempt for Ross to get back in contact with O'Neal. Investigators asked Stevens where he was during the evening of February 10th, 2008. He first said he was in Las Vegas when he received the phone calls from Ross's brother and Cash Jones telling him about Ross being assaulted. However, this was 3 to 4 days after the assault occurred. Stevens later said he thought he was in New Orleans on the night of the incident. However, he would have to check his calendar when he returned. So, to his home in Atlanta. Investigators asked Stevens if he was acquainted with any members of the Main Street Crips. The Main Street Crip gang. Stevens said he met Lil Shaq, Kevin Heron, West, Eddie Hill, Big Herb, Dale Dog, and Gumby through Ross when he and O'Neal helped fund a food and toy drive. Additionally, Stevens and O'Neal's company filmed a documentary about the Main Street Crip gang. Investigators asked Stevens if he associated on a personal level with any of the Main Street Crip gang members. He said neither. He nor Shaquille O'Neal had that type of relationship with any of the members of the Main Street Crip gang. Stevens did admit that he would talk on occasion to Liddell Rawls. He claimed it was on a business level because Rawls organized 3 events throughout the year: a food drive around Thanksgiving, a toy drive around Christmas, and another food drive during the summer. Stevens said he last received a phone call from Rawls about a month ago asking if he was still coming to Los Angeles for the summer food drive. Rawls would call sporadically just to check in and then call heavily around Thanksgiving and Christmas when he needed funding for the food and toy drive. Stevens said it was strictly business dealing with Rawls. He would only call Rawls to return his phone calls. Stevens claimed that he never initiated a phone call. Stevens denied that Rawls ever phoned him to tell him about the kidnapping assault. Investigators asked Stevens if O'Neal ever suspected Ross of having an affair with his wife, Shani. He said there was an innuendo around the time when they severed ties with Ross. However, he had no personal knowledge of an affair. At one point during the interview, Stevens talked hypothetically regarding the sex tape, saying, I bring a girl to your house to do whatever, to eat lunch, have sex, party, whatever, but I leave. And you recognize this on the tape. You see it on the tape and you say, hey, Mark, this happened. If it sounds like it happened, then she had to tell you it happened or you got a tape. It's one of the two because you wasn't there. But for 7 months, you had this information and you never brought it to me. You wait until our relationship sours, so you already have a motive for having this information, whether you use it as an ace card to get money or whatever. So now Mark is essentially saying this nigga withheld that and bringing this out now to get some money. That's blackmail, allegedly, and extortion. Investigators found this statement interesting because it is exactly how Ross said it happened. Ross brought some girls to his house with O'Neal. Ross left the house for a period of time. He returned home and checked his surveillance footage and found O'Neal having sex with one of the women that Ross invited to his home. Right? Why wouldn't she want to throw that pussy on Shaq? You know what I'm saying? September 23rd, 2008, investigators interviewed Shaquille O'Neal in a locker room at the Gallon Center in Los Angeles. That's USC, baby. Trojan man. Dun, 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 dun. Also present during the interview was Mr. O'Neal's attorney, Nicholas Tonsich. Investigators asked O'Neal if he knew why he was being interviewed. O'Neal said that he believed it had something to do with Robert Ross, kidnapping, robbery, and assault. We asked O'Neal what his relationship was with victim Ross. O'Neal said he had known victim Ross for approximately 4 to 5 years. He was unsure who introduced him to the victim, but believed it was at a party in Los Angeles. O'Neal said Ross knew a lot of people and assisted him, O'Neal, and networking around Los Angeles. He knew Ross was from a gang neighborhood, Main Street Crips, and was trying to help Ross better himself. Ross introduced O'Neal to several members of the Main Street Crips while doing toy donations in South Central Los Angeles. Some of the nicknames of the gang members he met were Del Dog, Lil Shaq. On several occasions, Del Dog called O'Neal's partner, Mark Stevens, and asked for basketball tickets when he was playing in Los Angeles. O'Neal claimed that he never spoke personally with Del Dog over the phone. On one occasion, Ross gave O'Neal a necklace with diamonds depicting a bulldog. Ross told him it was a gift from Del Dog. O'Neal had his juror duplicate the necklace and returned the original to Ross to return to Del Dog. He said he did not feel right about receiving such a lavish gift from Del Dog. As time went by, Ross began getting in trouble with the police. On several occasions, Ross would tell the police that he was with O'Neal in an effort to avoid arrest or citation. O'Neal told investigators that in 2007, Ross brought the rapper Reggie to the Koch record label through his partner Mark Stevens. There was a disagreement over money between Ross and Stevens. However, he did not know the details of their agreement. Due to Ross's numerous negative contacts with law enforcement, O'Neal severed ties with him approximately 1 year ago. O'Neal believed it would be bad for his image to continue his affiliation with Ross. Ross continued to try to contact O'Neal by way of his personal assistant and through Mark Stevens. Earlier in the year, Ross told Stevens he had a sex tape of O'Neal. O'Neal believed this was Ross's attempt to get O'Neal to call him. O'Neal said during that time period, he and his wife were in the process of getting a divorce and did not care if Ross went public with the tape. If in fact the tape existed, he told Stevens to pass that message to Ross. All right, wait, let's go to the last one. Boom. Page 14. Investigators told O'Neal that Ross alleged he had ordered the kidnapping and had Stevens placed a call to the Main Street Crips to have them carry out the order in an attempt to get the sex tape. O'Neal adamantly denied this accusation and said neither he nor Stevens were involved with the crime. Investigators told O'Neal that they had proof that Stevens was in contact with members of the Main Street Crips on or around the day of the kidnapping. Investigators asked O'Neal if Stevens would order such a violent crime to protect him, O'Neal, without his knowledge or consent. O'Neal said he has known Stevens for many years, does not believe he would commit such an act. Our interview was concluded. On August 28, 2008, investigators wrote a search warrant for cellular phones and cell sites for the above-mentioned individuals. The warrant was signed by the homicide judge Roger Ito at Norwalk Superior Court. We need to pull that up. The search warrant was then faxed to both T-Mobile and Sprint Nextel Corporation. Investigators received information from T-Mobile that they maintained cell site information for a period of 6 months and that the time had expired for the cell site information requested. They did, however, say that the incoming and outgoing calls are available for the numbers requested: victim Robert Ross, Mark Stevens, and Deion Hawkins. The information returned from Sprint Nextel shows cell site tower hits from the phones belonging to James Harbin and Marlon Hunt in the Hollywood area around the time of the kidnapping. Hey, listen, y'all got them phones with y'all. Y'all talking about y'all drilling like they not going to see that your phone was pinging in this area at the time of a crime, bro. The information for both cellular companies showed a flurry of calls from Mark Stevens to Liddell Rawls and from Liddell Rawls to James Harbin, Deion Hawkins, Marlon Hunt, and Taekwon Wingate on or around the time of the kidnapping. On November 6, 2008, Investigators spoke with Deion Hawkins at Century's Sheriff's Station regarding the victim Ross's kidnapping. Prior to speaking with him, investigators advised Mr. Hawkins of his Miranda rights. So this is something that anytime they're going to talk to you, bro, they have to read you your Miranda rights, that you have the right to remain silent. So once you waive that right, then everything that you say to them could be used against you. That's why you don't say nothing. But when you do, now we need to see that statement. What did you say to him? Well, this is what I said. No, we don't believe you. Only way we gonna know what you said is if you get the transcripts and or the audio to what you said. So Mr. Hawkins said that he would speak with us without an attorney present and sign the Miranda rights waiver card. So if you talk to him, you had to sign your Miranda rights waiver card. Mr. Hawkins said he knows victim Ross as Stutterbox from their street gang, Main Street Crips, and that he has known him for many years. He said he and Stutterbox were roommates for a while and that he is a liar. Mr. Hawkins denied any knowledge of or involvement in the incident. Our interview was terminated. While reviewing wiretap phone calls from James Harbin, investigators heard a conversation between Harbin and Brandon Nieder, aka 50 Cent. The conversation was about the Ross kidnapping case. Harbin was telling Nieder that the sheriffs had visited him and attempted to interview him regarding the case. Nieder said that he remembered the incident kidnappings and reminded Harbin that Nieder was with them when they located victim Ross in Hollywood. Harbin said, oh yeah, that's right, you was there. So now this, I don't know why they verifying who was there and playing dumb like they don't remember who was there. This shit is crazy, bro. But that's 2 hours. We're gonna go ahead and cut this one short. We finna upload this as soon as we can. Hey, salute to everybody. Damu, Kiwe, Conversations. Let's go.